Hi everyone, welcome to Birthing at Home, a podcast. I'm Elsie, your host. I've had 2 home births in April 2020 and in June 2023. I'm a mental health nurse and an ex-student midwife that has a strong passion for birth and supporting women. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on in Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. I would also like to acknowledge that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have been birthing at home on country for tens of thousands of years prior to the British invasion and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. Episode 13 is quite unique, and I'm so grateful to be able to share these stories with you today from Bibi, an Italian birth coach, former midwife who trained in Italy and then again in Australia, who free-birthed her son Milo, and then in 2022, free-birthed her twin baby girls, Angelica and Ella, at home with the support of her husband and mum. It's an inspiring story and I know you'll love it. If home birth stories are fairly rare and free births are rarer still, then in Australia, twin free births are even rarer. Please share the podcast and this episode. Together, we can spread the word and power of birthing at home. Enjoy. Welcome, Bibi.
Thank you. Hi, Elsie.
I'm so excited to have you today. And I actually didn't know that we were pretty much talking about 3 home births today. That's very cool.
Yes.
So for the listeners that don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I saw on Instagram somebody in America having a home birth with twins. And then it got me thinking, like, surely this happens in Australia. And then I was told, well, actually, like, midwives aren't meant to support home birth twins. It's like too high risk. And I'm like, I'm sure it must happen though. And then I shared it and somebody suggested for me to reach out to Bibi. And then I contacted Bibi and Bibi has very kindly agreed to come on the Birthing at Home podcast. So I'm so excited to hear all about all 3 children's births. Bibi, do you want to start off by telling the listeners a little bit about who you are, your family, where you're originally from?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Bibi and I am currently living in Australia, but I am from Italy. I was born in Italy, raised in Italy, and then I came to Australia about 11 years ago. I'm a mom of 3. I'm married to a defense guy. So we just live here in Newcastle at the moment.
Yeah. And is your partner also from Australia?
Yeah. It's from here.
Yeah. Amazing. And you have a background in midwifery, or you currently practice midwifery?
Yeah. So when I was 18, 19, I decided that what I wanted to do was to be a midwife. So just be present in the birth space, help mothers. And I went on and I did my degree. Then when I came to Australia's like, no, sorry, we don't do that. So I couldn't get my degree recognized straight away because Australia, they didn't have direct entry back then. So I had to wait a little bit. And in the end, I went back to uni in Australia as well. So I took my degree here and I worked as midwife, for a very long time, I would say. At the moment, I classify myself more like a birth coach and an early motherhood coach, I would say, because I'm not in the birth suite. I'm not in the system. I don't do that.
Yeah. And so how did you learn about, I guess, birthing at home? Was that from your studies or is it something that, is common in Italy or?
No. Yeah. It's not common in Italy. So I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea that you could birth at home until actually I came to Australia. And then I learned that you can actually birth at home. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. But I never attended a home birth.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So when you were studying in Italy, did you learn about home birth or that is something they didn't even really teach?
No.
Wow.
They don't teach it.
Wow, that's madness. Oh my gosh. And so you had to redo like your degree here, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's also madness. But then you learnt about home birth in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Awesome.
like the difference was that I learned about continuity of care, which is
Yeah.
something we don't do in Italy as well.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. Have the same health professional, the same midwife, the same whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
through
Yeah.
your pregnancy and after pregnancy and just like through your motherhood. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that sounds so amazing. And I just got attracted to that. I
Yeah.
was like, that is exactly what I want to do. Like
Yeah.
be in the woman's space, like
Yeah.
not just for a short, like 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, but for longer period. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you develop like a rapport and a relationship, and it's not like, having to reintroduce yourself all the
Yeah.
time, every time, relearn, small talk, all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly right.
Amazing. And so you were telling me just before that you have a baby boy, or toddler rather, 4.5-year-old Milo. So he was born at home in Australia as well?
Yeah, correct. He was
Yeah.
born at home. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And then it was last year that you had the twins at home.
Yeah. I had the twins at home as well.
Yeah, amazing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the pregnancy with Milo and his birth?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Milo, what happened is that when I was pregnant, I was working actively as a midwife. I was actually building a clinic for refugee women in Logan. And so I decided that was the first time that I actually started be like a midwife, continuity of care. They will have the same midwife. And I could see like my caseload at 100% vaginal, like spontaneous normal birth, the physiological birth, breastfeeding. And I could see how that was like impacting really well. So I decided that also I wanted to have my midwife. But because I was working in the system, I knew that for me to have the type of birth that I wanted, I needed to do it at home, undisturbed.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm just going to have a private midwife. That's easy. So I decided to have a private midwife. Everything was fine. The pregnancy was fine. And just for reference, like a private midwife, it's anything between $6,000 to $8,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Was fine by me. I was happy to do that. What happened is that my mom had some fibroids when she was younger, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
Yep.
And they had to like remove all uterus because of these big fibroids.
Wow.
So I knew I had familiarity for fibroids.
Yeah.
So when they did one of the morphology scan, they actually noticed that I had 3 fibroids, about 5 centimeters.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, fine, not a biggie. The problem was that the midwife, because she had hospital rights, which means every person that they take on, they have to double check with the obstetrician at the hospital. And the obstetrician is like, she's not having a home birth.
Yeah,
not
way.
allowed. She's going to bleed out and die.
Yeah. Yeah, and you probably would have said that too.
So she come to me and she pretty much says this. And I'm looking at her like, do you know I'm a midwife? You're like, no.
Yeah.
And so I started crying. I was about 24 weeks, started crying. Like it was the end of the world. Some people is like, you can't have a home birth. They're like, yeah, fine, no problem. Okay, I'll birth at the hospital. For me, it was like, no way, I'm going to go and birth at the hospital. Came home so upset. My eyes were like so big, crying. I was crying so much. And my husband is looking at me like, what happened? Like, it was like someone has just died. I was like, my midwife said that I can't do the home birth. And my husband is looking at me like, why are you acting like that? And then I look at him and I said, she is fired.
Excellent.
And so I fired her.
Yeah.
And then I start like researching pretty much. I was like, what if I just do it by myself? Why can't I, Yeah. And like, keep in mind, this is 2019, about January.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that you could birth by yourself.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
I started midwifery in 2009, right?
Yeah.
It's 2019. No idea you can actually birth by yourself.
Yeah, wow.
So I started making some research, and yes, you can birth by yourself. Like, I mean, you just need your body, you know?
Yeah.
And that was so weird, because then I started like, I did mention it to like a couple of people in my working space, and I was attacked in the sense that they were like, oh, you're going to kill your baby if you do that. I was like, okay. Because maybe like if you're not like in the health space, like this is how people really talk to you, you know, like no problem. They're just going to like put the word death like it's, you know, you're having a cup of coffee, and that's what they say. So this is what they say. Oh no, you're going to kill your baby if you do that. Yeah. So after that, I was like, okay, I'm just not going to say anything to anybody. So I kept it for myself, and I said to my husband, look, I really need your support. My husband is in the military, so all he needs is training, you know? So I said, I really need your support. I want to have a home birth. There's no way I'm going to go to the hospital to birth this baby. And he said, okay, that's fine. So I took him for like a weekend of positive active birth workshop in Brisbane. So we did a couple of days there. So it was really good because, you know, you learn all these things, the ball, the massage, the pressure point, like all these things. And I was like, fine. And I said to him, okay, just write everything down. I have my birth plan. And then we were ready. I mean, like my pregnancy was fine. And like, I want to say like a little disclaimer. After what happened with the midwife, like my intention was never to actually go to the hospital or have someone else or have people in and out, okay? Yeah. I only went once because I wanted to be booked in, just because I know how the system worked. Yeah. So I did the booking in, went there, and they're like, oh my gosh, your belly is so big. You need to do... You need to do a scan, because for sure this baby will never go through you won't be able to birth this baby. It's really big. So keep in mind, I'm 155, very short. So when I grow my pregnancy, they just grow like
pops
at
out.
the front. So I was just walking like, you know, like just like really big. I was 36 weeks. And she's like, no way this baby is coming out. God. Too big. And so I was like, no, the baby is fine. The doctor's like, no. So I was like, we're gonna book you a scan. We're gonna book you a scan, right?
And so the cascade begins.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, just book a scan. So I booked me the scan. I took the paper for the scan, chuck it in the bin, and then I just went home.
Excellent. Okay.
And I said to my husband, okay, baby, I'm booked at the hospital, so we can go there after, because our plan was always to go there after, just easier if you go after, you know? So, okay, we're going to go after. That was the plan. So the day came, I was feeling a little bit heavy, actually. It was about maybe 40 weeks and 1 day, I would say, something like that. Yeah. And I said to my husband, I'm ready. We're ready. We're ready to have this baby. And so he said, so what do I need to do? I said, nothing. Just get a little bit of clary sage, and I'll just use a tiny bit of clary sage.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
And so that day, I used a little bit of clary sage, and then I said to him, let's go for a walk. We went for a very long walk. We came home, had some spicy food, and I said to him, let's do this. It's happening. We're ready, right? Yeah. Keep in mind, I had no contraction. First baby, I was like, you know, yes, I'm doing this. Yeah. So he went to bed, and around midnight, my contraction started. And I was like, okay, this feels good. I'm so happy, you know. Yeah. But because I've had like some Braxton Hicks like every night, you know, at 11 p.m., 12 p.m., so 12 a.m. So I was like, I don't know if it's really happening. But I was like feeling good. So I was like, okay, let me just get up, because I was in bed. And I was like, let me just start using the shower. Maybe I'll turn on the shower. I'll see like if this is like really, really happening. Yeah. And then after a little bit, like around 1 a.m., I woke up my husband. I said, hey, I think I'm in labor. And he's like, are you? I'm like, yeah. I think I'm in labor. Yeah. But at that point, my mom was also in the house, and she was sleeping. Yeah. So at maybe 1:30, I would say, 1:30, I throw up. And so my mom woke up, like how mom, when you're sick, they just wake up like that.
Yeah.
So she woke up, she's like, are you okay? And I said, oh no, mom, I think I'm in labor. But I said to her, don't worry. Like, it's only been maybe like an hour and a half that I've been feeling something. And I said to her, I'm a midwife. First time mom, it's going to take forever.
Ages.
Go back to sleep. I'll see you in the morning, okay?
Yeah.
So this is me, right? And I'm like just directing people. I said to my husband, okay, just go and get the mattress, the candle, the bowl, do all these things,
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm like, I'm just going to stay here in the shower. So then at one point, I'm like, well, I can't stay in the shower for 12 hours. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get out.
Yeah.
And I was like, since I'm a midwife, I'm like, oh, let me just check myself. So I put a finger just to check myself, right? I'm about 3 centimeters. I can feel the head, 3 centimeters. I'm like, oh, easy. So this is about 2:15 a.m.
Yeah.
I said to my husband, hey, can you just go and get the camera? Because I love social media. So I'm like, we got to get a video, a picture, you know what I mean? I was like, let me just put some clothes on. I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was my vibe. So he went out to get the camera. And as he went down, I beat down and the head came out. So I was like, wah! And so he came back with the camera and it's like, what? And so he took a picture of the head. And then the second picture is the baby completely out, 2:18. And I was like, oh my God, I did it.
Oh my gosh, that's so quick.
It was extremely quick.
Oh, whoa.
No pain, no pushing, nothing. This baby just literally fell out. That was it.
That's incredible. How did you feel? Because that doesn't really, I guess if you're already in the mindset of like, I'm ready, let's do this, let's go, like it probably makes it a bit easier for it to just happen. But 1 minute you're pregnant and the next minute you're not.
I know.
Like what was going through your mind?
Well, I think I just felt like it was not painful. And I was like, this can't be labor.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not painful.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's just take pictures, I mean, I had contraction, I could feel that my tummy was like going hard, I could feel them. And when I was put in the water, I just couldn't feel anything. If I was breathing, I couldn't feel anything. So in my mind, I was like, I'm definitely not ready. Not ready at all,
Yeah.
But for me, I did so much work with women, but also with myself, where I knew that the secret number one is just not to be touched.
Yeah.
To be left alone, like animals. We are pretty much animals.
Yeah, pretty much animals. Yeah.
Dim light, left alone, you're going to have a beautiful birth.
Yeah. Quiet.
Quiet. So I apply all the things that I usually say to women.
Yeah.
But I apply it to myself.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Wow. And so your husband goes away to get the camera and then he comes back and what does he do? Or your mom, is she still asleep? What?
It was so quick. Because they heard me being like I beat down. I was like, wow, the baby's coming now. And as I say, the baby's coming, my husband is coming in with the camera. And as I said, now the baby was out.
Oh my God.
So I didn't even know if he made it to take the picture, but there is two pictures. There is two pictures. And that's it really.
Wow. And so your mum, did she heard you say the baby's coming?
Yeah.
Wow. What did she think about birthing without a midwife or birthing not in the hospital?
So my mom wasn't 100% sure that I was serious.
Yeah.
Same as my close friends and my sisters. Nobody thought that I was serious when I said, oh, I'm just going to birth at home. Yeah. They're like, no, why would you say that? So she didn't know if I was 100% serious.
Yeah.
But also, I did say to my mom, because my mom had 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
She had me. And she always said to me that it was such a quick birth. She arrived to the hospital, opened the legs, baby was out.
Yeah.
So that's what she said to me. But then she had my sisters. I had twin sisters.
Oh, wow.
So with my sisters, one was a normal birth and the second one was a cesarean section.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So for her, that experience really shaped her in a way that she was really scared, that something might have happened if I was to just do a home birth. But I did say to her, I really need your support. And if you cannot support me, just stay out of my birthing space. So she knew.
Yeah.
She knew. Yeah.
That's amazing. And your siblings, do they have children?
No.
No. Okay. So they don't really, can't really say much. Yeah.
No, my sisters are like, they don't know anything about what I'm talking.
I mean, I find that really sad that in our society that as women, unless you're a midwife, unless you go and study midwifery, and until you're actually pregnant, you don't actually know much about birth or pregnancy. And then by then it's kind of too late. Nobody says, oh, well, what if at 20 weeks, then the midwife says, no, you can't do this. And what are you going to do? You're already halfway. Yeah. Okay. That's amazing. And so what was your postpartum like with Milo?
So with Milo, my postpartum was really good. I guess the only thing is that I actually had a 3A tear, which was not expected. I was like, oh, really? And I was like, take a picture. Let me see. It was a 3A. But it was a perfect natural 3A, which is very different from a provoked 3A by long labor, long pushing, episiotomy, forceps, ventus. It's something completely different, natural. So it actually healed by itself. However, the first few days, I could feel a little bit it was a little bit stinging. A little bit. Yeah. And so that was the only thing. But apart from that, the postpartum with Milo was perfect.
Yeah.
Breastfeeding was so amazing. Oh my gosh, I enjoyed every moment of breastfeeding my son. And honestly, the only thing I remember so clearly, night number 2, he stayed awake the all night. And I was like, yeah, we're here. Let's do this. I couldn't wait to be awake the all night and do that night shift, Yeah. And all I did is I just lay on the bed, on the couch, on my side, and he just sat for the all day, breastfed the all night. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then after that, he was such a good baby. Once my meal came in, and this is people were like, you have to wake him up. I'm like, I'm not waking up anybody. He will sleep 12 hours overnight. He will definitely sleep 12 hours. I'm like, I ain't waking up anybody. I'll just let him be. And I remember at 7 days, I went to weigh him and he put on 1 kilo.
Oh my gosh.
From birth.
7 days.
Yes.
Wow. How much did Milo weigh? After they say
he was
so big.
3. Yeah. It was 3.160.
Oh, rubbish. What do they know? Oh my gosh.
Normal.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah.
I also have very big babies, and I'm not sure how much they gained, but when how they're only meant to drop 5% or 10%.
10%,
my babies don't drop. They're just going on.
Love it.
That's very cool. So that's so interesting that your mum had you and then also had twins, because that's exactly what's happened for you as well.
Exactly right.
That's amazing. So with Angelica and Ella, that's your 2 baby girls' names.
Yeah.
So you find out that you're having twins. Yep.
So I was really sick. When I say sick, I mean extremely sick to death, pretty much. Yeah. So when I was 8 weeks, because of the sickness, I was almost fainting pretty much.
Wow.
So I had to go in the hospital. I was like, I don't want to go into the hospital. So anyway, I had to go into the hospital because I was really, really sick. So I went in there and I said, I don't want a scan, because it was only 8 weeks and I believe the scan should be done a tiny bit later. Yeah, so I was like, I don't want a scan. I only want fluid. So I went in there just for fluid.
Yeah.
After that, I had my scan. I was between the 9th and the 10 weeks, around that mark.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, it was still COVID time.
Yeah,
okay, we
of
were a little
course.
bit still in the middle of COVID because this is 2021.
Yeah.
My husband came in for the scan. The lady put the scan on my belly and she quickly removed it. And I said to her, I saw it. And she looked at me, she's looking like, okay. And then she put it back and she's like, there is 2 babies. My husband is like, what? And I was like laughing. I was crying, laughing, crying. I don't know. I was like hysterical.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I realized that there were 2, I was like, I am screwed. I can't have my home birth. I'm going to have a Caesar. I'm going to have like every 2 weeks, serious scan. They need to know if the babies are okay, if they're growing okay, if they have the same growth, yada, 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 yada. This was all the things that they were going in my brain because, of course, like I'm a mom, but at that time, I was first of all a midwife, which means as midwives, we are indoctrinated, to think it's true, to think that is only one way, and every day of my life, I thank God because he gave me this experience to understand that, no, Bibi, there is not only one way. You better learn now that you're young.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what am I going to do? I mean, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I said to my husband, what if I could just have these babies at home, Yeah. And that was just a little talk about it. So I started researching, having twins at home. I was in touch with a midwife, but she was like, yeah, I can be your midwife. But as soon as I said, oh, they're twins, she's like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Yeah. So private midwife, it's not that they can't assist twin birth, but it's just really hard because once you do it, they will report you. The hospital will report you. Everybody will report you. They will come after you and you lose your registration. You lose your home. You lose everything that you worked for.
Yeah.
So
probably I've heard of like child protection being called for crap like that. Yeah.
Yep. So this is the reason why as midwives, most times we don't do some things.
Yeah.
Because they will come after you for real. This is not a joke,
Yeah.
This is not a joke, And even if we would like to do it, it's just too hard, It's like, how much is really worth it, especially when you have a family, a house, and all the things that you've built, So I understand when she said no, like I totally and truly understand and respect why she did say no. And so I said to myself, I'm like, well, I guess I'll do it again by myself.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And what did your husband say?
Oh, I didn't tell him straight away. Because I was like, okay, I need to prep. Yeah, I need to prep him for this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And so I started researching.
Yeah.
And I founded 3 groups. So the first group was Freebirth in Australia, actually, on Facebook.
Yeah.
The second group was Birthing Naturally Multiples on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then the third one was the podcast of the Freebirth Society.
Yeah, amazing.
So at that point, I was still working at the hospital, but I was commuting. So the hospital was an hour from here.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll start listening to all the stories, all the birth stories, just like this one. And that's why I am such a fan of try and, say my story, because story like this actually gave me the courage to be like, you know what? I can totally do it.
Yeah.
So I started listening to all the birth stories, like all the twin birth stories at home.
Yeah.
And I was like, so hang on a minute. You can actually birth your twins at home? That was 2021. Keep in mind, I started midwifery 2009. 2021, I'm discovering that there is actually people out there that are having babies like twins at home.
Yeah. That's amazing. But yeah, like I've had people, so I've had 2 home births, and it wasn't until my second home birth, I had a baby in June, and it wasn't until my student midwife that I had, she also had a home birth. That was like the first mum. So my first son is 3.5, and I went to uni. I studied midwifery and nursing, and the first mum I ever met in person that had a home birth wasn't until the son I just had. So it's like, yeah. And I think if I hadn't have had the experiences that I have had, I don't think I would have ever had home births, because I just simply would not have known about home birth. I've had a couple of people reach out to me on the podcast and be like, but I don't understand. How can you just have a baby at home? Like, how does that work?
So true,
like,
so true.
It's your body, it's your baby. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like 1,000 years ago, there were no hospitals for us to just all rock up and pop our babies out,
Exactly.
Like, yeah. Wow. So you're on public transport listening to all the birth stories.
Yeah, just driving with my car, listening to the old stories and all of that. And then I said, like, I can totally do it. I mean, like, I'm a midwife, so I also have the back knowledge, which can also like work against you, of course, But at that point, I was like, nah, I need to do this. Yeah. So I started talking to my husband, the fact that I wanted to have a home birth, right? Yeah. And he's like, okay, that's fine. Just tell me what I have to do. Yeah. As I said, he's in the military. Like they just need instruction, really. Yeah. It's like, okay, fine. And we did already Milo. Milo was so easy, like whenever he says the story, like it just cracks me up, because he's like, I don't know, I went in and the baby was out. This is the story of the birth, like, okay. I don't know what happened. That's exactly what happened. So, so what happened then, we had the scan, the 20 weeks scan. Yeah. And what happened there is that they said he couldn't come in.
Oh, your husband couldn't come in? What?
So, because of COVID. So I said, what do you think put this baby in me? The Holy Spirit?
Oh, my...
So I just got so, like, honestly, I think I was crazy at that point. I was like getting on a tantrum, like, like an adult COVID tantrum. That is what I was having. So I just went like, okay, I'll do this scan. And then you never see me again. Yeah. And that was it. Oh my
gosh. Yeah. Like COVID, because my first baby was, he was born in April 2020, and I'd already was set on a home birth. And then I started hearing all these stories about how women were starting to find out about home birth because of COVID and stuff. And some of the reason was because like they weren't guaranteed that their partner, husband, not even the doula that they hired, the photographer that they hired, but their husband or partner was maybe not allowed to come in to watch the baby be born, let alone scans and like antenatal appointments. Like, I would have been very, very angry as well.
I was super angry. Yeah. But I always say, thank God it happened, because that actually gave me the certainty that I was not going to go into the system with these babies, given the fact that I was there sobbing, crying, being like, I am growing these 2 babies inside of me. I know they're there. I just need my husband to see them. Yeah. That was all I wanted. They're like, no. And like we're sitting like literally in the waiting room. The little room is like 50 meters from there. Yeah. I'm like, but he's sitting here next to me. They're like, no. Yeah. So there was no way. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That means like, I'm just going to have my home birth. That's it. And I said to my husband that day, I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is what we're doing. We're going to have these babies at home. And gave me so much motivation. And I was like, no, we're not going gambling with these babies, because with twins, like, I feel like every twin mom should know that twin pregnancy and twin birth and having twins, it's another level. You can't gamble with this, you just need to do things right. So I said to him, Okay, that's it. Like I had the scan, and because I'm a midwife, all I need to do was just to see what was going on. Okay, where the placenta were, the twins, what they were doing. That's it. Happy days. So they're like, yeah, there is 2 placenta. I said, are they separate? Yes, I'm positive. 2 different placenta separate. They're nowhere, near to each other. So they're, DD pretty much. Okay. So I was like, okay, perfect. So after that, I said to my husband, let's just do another scan, like amatorial one, like the 3D that you just pay, so that he could actually see the babies. Because I was like, we can't do anything else, because even if I wanted to do another scan, he couldn't come in. So the only way to do it was to pay, whatever we paid, go to someone that does, the private scanning, and then he could see the babies. So we're like, okay, let's just do that. So we did the 3D scan, we saw the babies. We didn't want to know whether they were girl or boys. It was just going to be a surprise. And then after that scan, one was breech and the other one was head down. So I said, okay, fine, don't care. Only 22 weeks I was at that point. But I said to my husband, I just want to let you know that I am not having any more visits, any more scans, nothing.
Oh, did you tell him after this scan had happened?
Yeah. After the scan. I said,
I hope you enjoyed that, because that's the last one.
No, that's it. I didn't want any ultrasound around me. Like, they're called ultrasound for a reason, okay? So if they're not needed, I was not going to go through that route. The babies were fine. Everything was fine. The placenta were fine. Everything was really good. And I'm a big also believer, that as a mom, we do have this gift that is called intuition. And I can assure you that when something is wrong, you will notice before everybody else if you don't let the noise distract you, And so for me, at that point, for me, it's like 2021 for me, I call it the awaken year, because it was the year that I just suddenly wake up from all that, just do this, say this, do that, And I started to learn that there is all world outside from the hospital.
Absolutely.
And I was just like, where have I been my whole life?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And so I just had my pregnancy. Honestly, the twin pregnancy was fine, hard. I was in a wheelchair at one point because the belly was really big. Like, this baby was growing and thriving. You can see inside my body. So I was going to the Cairo. I was just doing my thing, the pool, the beach, just like living the life, honestly. It was just the hardest things, of course, was that because a lot of people know me, because at that point I deleted that account, but at that point I had 350,000 followers on TikTok. So that means people knew me in Italy, especially. And so there was a lot of hate because people were saying like I wasn't safe, I was going to kill my babies. It was just really hard mentally. So at one point I just had to remove the plug and just be like, okay, that's it. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not here for anybody. At this point, I'm not a midwife. Like, honestly, scrap that. I am a mom that I am expecting twins. And, you have all the talks and all the things that mom to be has anyway, So I was like, I really need to focus on these babies. So every day I was saying to myself, I'm going to have this baby with no problem, and they're gonna be around 3 kilos, and they're just gonna be born like poof, one baby, poof, the second baby. And I was just keeping saying like that mantra to my head, So in my head, I had imagined exactly how the birth was going to be. So like in my head, like I had my little movie of how the birth was going to go and all of that. And everybody was like, you are so big, you're never going to make it to 37 weeks. So 37 weeks is Christmas Day. And I posted a picture, I'm like, still pregnant.
What do you know?
Exactly. And people could not believe it. So my mom came as well. She was able to come. They just opened up Australia because nobody could come in and nobody could go out at that point. So she was able to come.
Yeah.
The day that she came on the 29 or 30 of December. And I said to her, all right, I guess I'm ready to have these babies now that you're here.
Yeah.
But I said, it has to be on the next year, like January, because I didn't want to have like one on the 31st of December and the second one of the 1st of January.
Yeah, so true. I've heard about like people though, like, you know, that are born on the leap year in February. And so like they have to like choose a date because like it only exists every 4 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, I was like, okay, let's just have New Year's Eve. So we went for, you know, firework New Year's Eve. Like I just did my thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then at one point, we went to the beach one day and I said to my mom, I think, Mom, I'm ready. Like, I'm really ready to have these babies, you know? So we did some squats in the water and I was just walking in the water and I said to the babies, Mom is ready. Like, he's truly ready. You have to come out.
Yeah.
So we came home and my husband is like, you ready? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, let's just burn some sage.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So he burned the sage.
Wow.
Burn the sage. And I said to my husband, these babies are coming because you're burning the sage. Because for me, the sage, that's the trick.
Yeah. Where was Milo at this point?
At home with us.
At home? Yeah. Cool. That's amazing. And how was like Milo throughout the pregnancy, like knowing that he was not going to just have one new sibling, he was going to have 2 new siblings? Like, did you do any prep, like especially like, you know, being around birth, things like that?
Yeah. So we did tell him that he was going to have 2 babies. And initially we thought it was going to be a boy or a girl. So we'll say to him, Angelica and Luca. And so that's what he would say. He'll say, oh, Angelica and Luca are in your belly. And still to today, if you ask him where the twins come from, he will say your belly, you know? He knows. So we did a lot of that. And then when I did the baby shower, one of my friends, she also designed 2 babies. And we showed him, look, this is how they are, because one was head down and the second one was breech. So I said, this is how they are. So this is breech and the other one is put like that. And this is in the belly of mommy. And you could see like all the movement and all of that. So it was kind of ready. But what we say with my husband, because I said to my husband, I really need not to worry about him. So if, if the labor starts and he's at home, we were going to arrange a friend to just come and get him, you know, so that was the plan.
Yeah.
But I was secretly hoping that the labor would be overnight. And so, like, you know, it would just be at home once the baby were born and all of that. That was what I was secretly hoping. Yeah. And then what happened is we went to bed after the sage. He burned the sage. We went to bed, went to sleep. I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, babies, now is the time. I went to bed, fall asleep, and then at 4 a.m. I heard exactly like that. And I was like, I woke up, I'm like, shit, I broke my water. So I quickly ran in the bathroom, and then it goes like the water like that. And I was like, no. Because I thought to myself, you know, like when you're a midwife and you see women that they break the water and then like nothing happens. And they were there waiting. And I'm like, no. I'm not doing this type of labor.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, babies, you need to come. So I started squatting. I started like walking and I put the clary sage everywhere in my body. I'm like, no. I'm not doing 24 hours. No. I'm like,
what's going now?
Exactly. I'm like, I'm not doing 1 or 2 or 3 days with broken water with twins. Yeah. It's like, no. This has to be the perfect labor and the perfect birth. So I'm like, we are going now.
Yeah.
So 1 hour passed by and it's like me taking video of me. I'm like, nothing is happening. I'm bored. Taking video of me like that because it's like, So 1 hour passed by. Everybody was sleeping. And at 5 a.m. I heard my first contraction. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
It's happening.
So just 1 hour later and it's on. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I'm like, yes, it's happening. So that's 5.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, okay, I should probably wake up my husband because I want him to like get everything ready. And I'm like, plus Milo has to go to daycare at 6:30.
Yeah.
So we have like an hour and a half to get things ready and then get Milo ready to go to daycare.
Yeah.
So I woke up my husband. It's like 5:05. I maybe had another contraction. I said, I think it's happening.
Yeah.
Because these contractions, they were different from Milo's. These were like, I can't say like painful, because painful is like, you know, if you cut your arm, that is painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was just intense.
Yeah.
So I said to my husband, no, it's happening because it's so intense. So I have one at 5, one at 5:05, another one at 5:10. Okay, start, you know, I want my candle. Usually during my labor, I use lemongrass candle. So I say, I want my candle.
Yeah.
So I put the candle on. And then 5:20, I said, baby, you need to go and wake up mom now.
Yeah.
So I starting to go and wake up mom. And then I yelled at 5:25. I'm like, Wah! Baby's out.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody was there. There's no pictures, nothing. There's no video.
And I saw on your Instagram, so when baby 2 was born, so were you in the shower when baby 1 was born?
Yeah. So I was in the shower with the first baby.
Yeah.
And so I called them. I'm like, the baby's out.
Yeah.
And they're coming, they're
you
like,
missed it.
What? And I was like, there is no picture. There is no photo. So I said to my husband, now you put the GoPro there and you do not move it until the next baby is out.
Don't get in the way. Clear the space.
Exactly. Exactly. And so in the meantime, I wanted to cuddle this baby, but the cord was so short that I couldn't put her up. So I had to cut the cord straight away. So cut the cord. I wanted to do delay, all the things, but it was just not possible. So I had to cut the cord. And then I had the baby like here. It was so good. It was like one of the most amazing thing ever, you know. Yeah. And then I look at my husband, and my mom was there as well. And I was like, oh, there is another baby. And so I'm like, and this was the breech one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. And the only reason why I knew is because I could do palpation on my body. And so I could understand where the babies were in that moment, okay?
Yeah.
So I said, oh, there is a second baby. And so my body at that moment just shut everything. There was no pain, no contraction, nothing. I was just there with the baby. Wow. So I said, oh, maybe I need to actually focus back and get back into the zone. Because you know how they say, how they say that sometimes it can be like even 12 hours apart. If you let them. Yeah. I was like, no, I am definitely not doing that. No, I'm like, you're coming today. So I gave the baby to my husband. And I said, okay, I need to go back in the zone, you know. So I went back in the zone and I was like, okay, going back in the zone. So 5:35 roughly, I started having the first contraction again. I was just standing with the shower. I was just using the water of the shower on my belly. That was helping a lot. And then these contractions started coming, but really slow. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not happening, you know, like super slow, like just like not like the other ones. They were like every 5 minutes, the other one. Fine, okay, but this one was like every 5, every 10, every 5, you know. But then before I knew it, I was like, what is going on? So I look at my mom, and my mom, she's looking at me like that, terrified. And I'm like, okay, something is wrong in the space. Because my mom, this was 33 years ago with my sisters, she was meant to have a Caesar. But what happened is that she really quickly birthed the first one. And then they panicked. Yeah. And so they put her to sleep and they cut her straight, like the classical one.
Gosh. Wow.
And then she woke up without babies. And then after that, she had an infection. Everything just went the wrong way.
Yeah.
So my mom, in that moment, she is
reliving that.
That. So she's looking at me like that.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that. Like the just having like a flashback. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I look at my mom and I said, Mom, you have to leave now.
Yeah.
So she left.
Yeah.
She did one step out of the room.
Yeah.
And I bear down and the second twin is out. And that's the video that you saw.
Wow. Wow. It's just incredible for like 100 different reasons. But I'm also so like overjoyed that your mum like listened, you know,
Yeah.
she took that on board. She understood that,
Yeah.
you know, your space needed to be your space. And if you're impacting my space, then it's better that you step out of the space.
Yes.
Wow. And so I also saw in the picture, so you'd cut baby one, is baby one Angelica or Ella?
Angelica, yeah, Angelica.
So you've handed Angelica to your husband, and then Ella is born. And was Ella's cord longer?
A tiny bit longer, but not that long. That's why I had to cut it. She was born at 5:58. So there's about 30 minutes between the twins. Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to cut it. And then I realized she was a girl as well. So I was like, oh my gosh, 2 girls. Like, that's what I wanted. So I was so happy. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And so I actually don't know this. How, like, the placenta delivery for twins, like, what happens there?
So that's the other part of the story.
Okay.
So they told me I had 2 placenta. So I was actually waiting for the first placenta. So I thought the baby was going to come, and then the placenta was going to come, and then the second baby was going to come, and then the placenta was going to come.
Yep.
What happened, though, is that the first baby came, and the placenta didn't came. Okay. So I tried to see where I was coming. So I just touched the cord, like just gently touched the cord. And I said to my husband, not coming. Okay. Yeah. And then the baby came. And so I had these 2 cords hanging out. Yeah. And I was thinking like, okay, now I have to birth 2 placenta. But not long after, 10 minutes after, like the biggest contraction ever came. And I thought I was birthing a 3rd baby. I was like, what? Oh my God. I was like, I'm not ready for this. I was like, instead, it was the placenta. The placenta, there weren't 2 placenta. It was 1 massive placenta.
Wow.
About this
with 2 insertion points for 2.
With 2 insertion. Yeah. The placenta, they were separate. So it looks like maybe they might have fused. We would never know this, But it was not 2 placenta. It was 1 placenta. 1.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that probably like impacted, like, I don't know about the physiology of that, but that probably impacted like the cords then as well, like how long they were.
Yeah. It could be.
So that would make sense. Yeah.
It could be. But yeah, that's probably the reason why, there was not like a massive cord and all of that. And also, like, I want to say that although the second twins was breech, she was born head down. She turned. Yeah. Like once she had the space, she turned head down and she was just born vaginal normal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it is one thing to not have space, but then if half of your space actually leaves the space, then flip on around, because that's going to be easier for you.
Exactly.
Babies are pretty clever.
They are.
Wow. And so was Milo still asleep, or had he woken up?
Milo was asleep.
Yeah.
He woke up 2 minutes after the placenta came out.
Yeah.
And he came in the bathroom and he saw the babies.
Oh, and what was his reaction?
He was so happy. And he's like, is this my babies? I said, yeah, these are your babies. Oh. And he's like, Angelica Ella. And I was like, oh, no. Because my husband chose the name like really quickly, because they're like, okay, what are you going to name me? It's like Ella. It's like, hey, Angelica and Ella. And that's where it came from. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And so, like, how did you feel after, that's like so quick still? So quick.
It was so quick, honestly. After, I felt better than before, because with twins, at the end, I was really like, hey, I'm ready to do this. Yeah. So I was so good, honestly. Like, I also post a video where I'm like, okay, I had the baby. Yay, I'm so happy. Yeah. Because I was so happy, And then I had eggs with bread. My mom cooked me food. I breastfed the twins. Yeah. And that's it. Happy days. And then I went to the hospital to get them checked, and because it's just easier that way.
Yeah. And what was the response at the hospital? And I mean, I'm so excited to have you on here, but I also totally recognize that even though this happens, that you must be like, if home birth is like less than 1% every year, like free births with twins, not just like a singleton free birth, but like must be so rare. And
It
that,
is.
of course, like just ignites the fear even more. So what was the response when you took them in?
Well, first of all, they knew.
Yeah.
Because I told my manager, like when I knew I was pregnant, I said, this is what is happening.
Yeah.
So they knew. And some colleagues, they were following me on my social media, which I didn't know because there's so many people that I don't check who is looking at my stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So they were actually following along, you know, my journey, my story. They were actually really good. But also, like, I think for me, I think and this is what I try to teach women as well. You need to understand how the attitude and how you go in when you go into the hospital. Like, I was never angry, upset, or, you know, hostile. I was just really kind, happy. And when I went in there, I said, I'm just here to get them checked, and then I am leaving. I'm not staying for any reason. If I have to sign anything, give it to me straight away. I'll sign it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so they knew that. So I just went there really just to get them checked, get checked myself because I had a 3rd degree with my son.
Yep.
I didn't know whether with this one, because, you know, my plan was to breathe the baby, breathe. I'm not breathing anything. This baby just like come out like that, you know? Just the ejection movement. That's what happened really.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, again. But in the end, I only had like a really tiny, small 2nd degree. So that was fine.
Yeah.
And then they checked the babies, they weighed the baby. So Angelica was 2.770.
Yeah.
And Ella was 3.140.
Oh, if you like average that out, that's pretty much what you requested. So that's pretty impressive. Wow.
Exactly. And Ella was the same weight as Milo.
Yeah.
But Milo was 40 weeks.
Yeah.
Ella twin at 38 weeks and 3 days.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's so inspiring. Do you know how inspiring you are?
I know. I think I know. And, you know, like, I've been doing so much work like in the Italian space at the moment.
Yeah.
And I went for a retreat in Bali, and everybody's like, why are you just talking Italian? You can help so many people. And I was like, well, because I don't know, I've just been comfortable, you know, and I'm like, you know what, like, I need to get out of my comfort zone and start talking about this, because actually story like mine help me to be where I am today, you know, and they truly changed my mind. And I can't thank, you know, all the people that they do this podcast, that they interview women and they say the stories. Like, I just cannot thank you guys enough, because you truly change life, you know, like, people resonate with these stories and they're like, oh, okay, I can do it. What? Twins? What? And then they start doing their research, you know, and that's where they like, okay, I can totally do this.
Yeah. Even breech, like, there's so many people I see on the social media also, like, all the comments, and it's like, you can't vaginally birth breech babies and stuff. And it's like, you can. You can.
Yeah. And I was ready and prepared to do that, to do the breech baby. But it wasn't. So I said to my husband, that's fine. Might have another one, and that might be breech. So I've ticked all the boxes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so, like, your response, I guess, you know, having such a presence on social media and whatever in Italy, and also being in Australia, is there a difference, do you think, in the response of people that follow you, like, depending on whether they're here or there?
Yeah. I feel like Australia and also USA, actually, people are like much more open to this, you know. It's a bit polarized, it's true, but you will find a good chunk of people that are actually open to listen and to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
In Italy, there is still a lot of work to do. Some days it's very tiring,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there is still a lot of work to do. They don't do home birth, they don't do twins on board, they don't do
Yeah.
breech, they don't do a lot of things. It's very medicalized.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it's because they don't know the language, so they translate things not even true.
Yeah. Yeah. Inaccurately. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's, yeah. Wow. Because whenever, like, obviously I know this and you know this, but it still makes me flabbergasted that we all just, as a society, just like go along and just accept that, okay, the medicalization of like birth, something that we've been doing for tens of thousands of years. Like, what do you think we were doing back then? Because, like, we
I
don't.
know.
Like,
I know. And look, like in saying that, like I've been part of the system for a very long time, So
Yeah.
for me, I've watched and witnessed what happened really like inside,
Yeah.
And what I can say is that the problem though, like at the moment, and this is where my work is now,
Yeah.
is like there is no point for me to go to a doctor and go to a midwife and be like, actually, this is not the way, yada, yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada. Because until they go on their own journey or they decide to learn by themselves, because when you have a degree, you do know.
Yeah.
We are pretty much really like, we know how to do research.
Yeah.
We know how to understand things. So when
Yeah.
we don't want to, it's because we are not open to.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is nothing that I can do with health professional or with the space, with the system.
Yeah.
But what I can do though is I can work with the women, because I feel like if a woman doesn't believe that she can birth, she will never birth.
Yeah.
This is pretty much the end of the story, because she will bring the fear and like her body will just not do it. But
Yeah.
if a woman understands that actually birthing is normal
Yeah.
and that 99% of us can with not a issue, not a problem,
Yeah.
then that's a different story. Then that's a woman that can understand when maybe something is not necessary, when sometimes we do things because it's the policy, because it's the guideline, because we have to do that. And I
Yeah.
always say to women, what you need to understand is that policy and guideline, they're not there for you.
No.
They're there to protect me as a health professional so I don't get sued.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once you've understood that, whenever you say is policy, is guideline, you say, okay, that's fine. Thank you. I do not consent. And then you move on,
Yeah.
So, yeah. There is, I feel like there is a lot of work to do, but I feel like we've been focusing a lot like on the wrong side of this coin.
Yeah.
And like we just need to focus way more on the women, because it doesn't matter what we do. If the woman comes that she's seen 10,000 horror stories, because then this is the reality, for one positive birth, you will hear 10,000 horror stories,
In the comments, they're there. Yep.
Yeah.
I know somebody whose baby died. Your baby's going to die.
Yeah.
Your baby's going to die.
Yeah, exactly.
I see them too.
And it just goes on and on and on and on. So I'm like, especially with social media, like news goes faster.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you say to a midwife or a doctor. This woman is gonna come with like 10,000 comments, like evidence at the comments from TikTok, from the social media, from Facebook, from the group. That's our evidence. That's why sometimes I'm like, sometimes I hear podcasts and they're like, here, looking at the evidence, giving you all the research, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, you know what? Like a woman doesn't need research. What she needs is to trust her body and know that she can do it. Because in the end, you can give her all the research that you want, but her evidence are these comments, are what she's hearing, are the horror story. So she needs to like tune out, cancel the noise, and believe in herself,
Yeah, 100%. I think birth is quite special in that, now I work in mental health as a nurse, and, we like promote meditation and things and whatnot. But like we really have lost touch of that, I guess, innateness that, you know, fear fear does derail birth, and for quite a lot of reasons. But, you know, we don't really connect in with ourselves, you know, day to day anymore, because like, that's just not what society, you know, when you think about, like, I guess hypnobirthing is a good example. When you mention hypnobirthing, people often are like, what's that? Like, you know, but it's like the power of your mind.
Yeah.
And that's not that crazy. Like, we should all be more in tune with ourselves.
No, exactly.
And believe in our body and our, you know, abilities. And I think, I mean, I also, with this podcast, you want to, you know, make a difference, I guess, but like, I can't force anybody to listen to it. The people that are going to find it are the people that are going to find it. Like, and you can get really caught up in trying to like solve all the problems, but you kind of just need to like focus on, okay.
Exactly.
If somebody has an interest, they'll come, maybe they'll listen to all of these great stories, and maybe they'll find some self-belief. But that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything that you wanted to add, or anything extra you wanted to say? Or
I think the only thing that I want to say to women, if you get to the end of this podcast, is to get ready, like, get prepared. Like, it's like, you know, like, this is what I say to women. If you knew that you had to go to like a date with the love of your life, it's the love of your life, would you go with your pajama, not even be ready, like looking like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, no, you will get ready. You prepare, you put perfume, you put nice clothes, you do your hair, you would get ready. Birth is the same. You're about to meet the love of your life, which is your son or your daughter. Get ready.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so accurate. Thank you so much, Bibi.
Thank you.